In this high interest rate environment and limited supply of homes, we're still seeing many homes sell with multiple competitive offers. This can be daunting for a home buyer, but there are things that buyers can do to give their offer the best probability of getting accepted. Hey guys, it's Evan Swanson here of Guild Mortgage, and I've got 10 tips or steps or strategies a buyer can take to help get their offer accepted. The first one is to potentially offer over the asking price. Understand that when there's going to be multiple offers coming in, it's likely that other buyers will be willing to pay more than the seller has it listed for. What a buyer can do in preparation for this is to understand for every $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 increment above list, how does that impact their financing? What impact does it have on their payments? And we're going to work with them to make sure they're prepared to answer that question. The second thing is close quickly. Many sellers want to close the transaction as quickly as possible. Traditionally, home sales happen in about 30 calendar days. If we can tighten that up to be, say, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 calendar days, the chances are that'll be a faster close than your competitive buyers will be buying. One of the things that we do to help ensure that, we get virtually all our pre-approval applications pre-underwritten, which is an additional step in the process that we do before the offer is written, so that when the offer is accepted, we can move more quickly. Consider making a large earnest money deposit. That's a signal to the seller that you're serious and you really want this home, and that you're going to stick to the terms of the contract, because if you don't, that is the buyer's pledge and the seller would get to keep the earnest money. So if you have your I's dotted, T's crossed, and you're willing to put a large earnest money deposit down, that's going to be a sign of strength relative to other offers. We don't recommend this, but some people choose to waive the inspection. There are considerable risks associated with that, and it's not something that we encourage. But we do offer or want to educate our buyers on their ability to either waive the appraisal. If we are not going to require one, we're going to test and see if that's a waiver we can achieve before the offer is written, so that when that buyer makes the offer, they can waive that contingency in their offer to the seller. Or if an appraisal does have to be done, we want to educate that buyer on what an appraisal gap and appraisal gap coverage is in advance, so you can feel comfortable making that pledge to the seller and potentially giving your offer, again, a little bit more edge. Consider making escalation clause. This is when you tell the seller you would be willing to pay up to a certain amount. You put a limit on it, assuming that other offers have come in to compete up to that level. You can talk to your real estate agent about this, but the bottom line is this is a way for you to pledge a higher purchase price, but only if it's needed due to other competitive offers. Consider offering a free leaseback. Some sellers need to time to move into a transition to another property, or they might even need time to shop and close on another property. And if a buyer is willing to offer that a leaseback or rent back agreement to the seller so they can stay in the home after closing for a number of days or weeks, that can be something that's attractive. Consider a larger down payment, right? So a larger down payment, more equity in the transaction is going to show strength to the seller. Also potentially show them that you have the ability to cover a larger appraisal gap coverage. So if the resources are there and a buyer can do it, a larger down payment typically will be a sign of financial strength. Oftentimes, we talk to buyers about asking the seller to contribute to their closing costs, but similar to offering a higher purchase price, a buyer could also go to the seller and say, listen, I'll pay your closing fees with a title and escrow company, which can typically be a couple $1,000s. It's in essence the same thing as offering a higher purchase price. And then make an offer with the fewest amount of contingencies as possible. So when the seller and the buyer are working on a transaction together, they're both trying to get to the finish line. And the buyer has hurdles along the way: contingencies, inspection contingencies, loan contingencies, appraisal contingencies. And every single one of those hurdles offers risk to the seller. So our job is to prepare buyers and get them to the point where we can offer that with as few amount of hurdles as possible, because the seller will look at that and say, this buyer, there's less and less risk with us associated with accepting this offer. So hopefully that's been helpful. And if you have questions about how you can give your offer more strength and a higher probability of getting accepted in a competitive environment, please contact us today.